Hello everybody, it is Mr. Cooper here, your FS and Primary Principal. I hope you are all well and ready for a well-earned weekend. It's been wonderful to see all the children back in school again over the past 2 weeks, and we are just at a point now with any children that have been in quarantine and doing remote learning for the first 2 weeks. We look forward for them to come back and welcome them back at the academy on Sunday. We're in the middle of a year now where the students' learning is really accelerating. Students are in very strong routines. They're able to evaluate their learning. They're driven, they're motivated. They've got great relationships in class. And the students are really motivated to learn. And you really see that in the lessons that I've been dropping into this week. The students are really keen to learn. They're really on board with and using those core skills that they developed in term 1 and really applying them to problem solving in the lessons this week and in this term. What's also really important, I had a few conversations with parents this week, is you'll start to notice as well that teachers will start recapping on things that they did in term 1. And that's very much linked to the science of learning and long-term memory and the theory behind recall and retrieval practice. Recall and retrieval practice is very important and developing and growing in popularity in terms of understanding of how people learn, not just children. And it's really about once teachers have encoded things into the students' brains, it's really important we provide lots of opportunity for the children to pull that back out of their brain and use and apply it. And the more they do that, the more they encode and then retrieve and encode and then retrieve, the more that learning is embedded and becomes a long-term memory. And that's what we want for all our children. And that's what we refer to as kind of fluency. The more you use that information, the more fluent you become. So that at some point, hopefully in the future, the children actually become natural at that and don't even have to think about that particular skill. Things like handwriting, things like number facts, things like driving a car, all those things where we just know the answer without even have to think about it is what we would refer to as developing fluency. And that's what retrieval practice is all about, asking children all the time to retrieve information they previously learnt. Because I'm sure you'll know as parents and equally as teachers, you'll teach something and then 2 weeks later the children will have forgotten. And there's a big theory about that in terms of the kind of time of forgetting after something has happened. Usually by the end of 31 days after you've learnt something, that you can probably only remember 25% of it. And it's the teacher's job to make sure that that 25% is the key important information, but equally that percentage can be increased if we continue to ask the children to regurgitate, retrieve and recall the information they learnt in those lessons. And so in FS, our home learning menu has been designed to do that, to constantly allow children to recall the information that they've learned in school at home. And the teachers will constantly go through phonics sounds, numbers, all the time and repeat and repeat and repeat every week, repeating information that they've learnt in last term as well, so they really become fluent in those core skills. And again, moving into primary school, you'll also see that the home learning menus are now really focused on those core fluency skills, so that children regurgitate that information, are constantly asked to retrieve that information and recall those number facts, those phonics sounds, develop their reading skills so that they become natural and fluent at those skills. And that feeds straight into Key Stage 2 as well. Now, one of the key tools that you've seen being implemented in Key Stage 2 is our Century tool. The application and the website where students can log on and practice their English, maths and science. It's all basically their home learning in one place. And it's never ending. Century will constantly provide children with a kind of full array of challenges to constantly practice over what they are learning right now, but also, and possibly more importantly, the learning that's taken place previously. And we call that retrieval practice. And Century will automatically set those. So if you have 10 minutes at home and you want your child in Key Stage 2 to practice and regurgitate information and develop that retrieval practice, then you will see you would go onto Century and Century will do that automatically for you. It will keep dropping in nuggets, as they're known on Century, of learning that has previously taken place. And so that's why the changes that we've made to home learning and adding Century in all linked to this science of learning. And we're going to really see the benefits of that later this academic year. Their children become fluent at all those different skills that they're developing. Equally, in lessons, our teachers spend 10 minutes at the beginning of every lesson developing their fluency skills. So they'll set them a fluency challenge in mathematics or a recap, whatever it might be, that will recap over a skill that they previously learned either last term or in a different year group from previous years, and it will get them to recall and regurgitate that information in their long-term memory. And of course, if they have forgotten it, then that's a perfect opportunity for the teachers to recap over that information as well. And usually those 10-minute kind of starters link to what they're going to be applying and using in the main lesson. So it's linking old learning, retrieving old learning, and linking that to a new encoding, the new learning that is going back into their brain. And so I just thought I'd share that with you as to why we do a few different things at the Academy, and why we've changed our home learning menu and the power that Century will provide for our Key Stage 2 students as we slowly embed these things in. It's been wonderful to see all the parents happy and smiling back outside the Academy building, picking up the children. I've had some great conversations with some parents. Have a wonderful weekend. If you do have any questions or anything you'd like to ask, then please speak to your head of years and your teachers. We're always here to answer any questions you have. Like I say, have a good weekend, and we'll see you back here for week 3 of term 2 here at the Academy. Bye-bye.